This is Day or Night Exotics TV. I'm Dale Tonight. On this video, we're going to have a two-part conversation. On one side, we're going to have the conversation about how to humanely euthanize a tarantula, if it ever comes to that. And on the other side, we're going to be talking about Post Ultimate Molt. The good parts about it and the bad parts, meaning the good parts they survive, the bad parts they die. We have a really good comparison in this one with the same species, the rosea mature male. So we'll have a really good look on what that's like. And like I said, we'll be talking about tarantula euthanization. I've done it a few times. This will be my third time doing it. This is my experience, my way of doing things. So if you agree with this or disagree, please comment below. But I do ask that you watch the entire video before offering your opinion. If you disagree, please watch the entire video. This is Perseus, my mature male rosea. This subject matter is something I've been literally avoiding talking about for a long time, and it's really just a subject matter of when you actually decide to euthanize an animal, in particular a tarantula, and how you go about doing that. There's not a lot of information out on the web about it. People don't talk about this, and the people who do is usually people who have found a tarantula and decide to maybe keep it for a couple of days, not really know what to do with it, and then decide, well, I'm going to kill it just to get out of my home, instead of knowing the proper procedures of what to do. And we'll get into that a little bit later when it comes to finding a tarantula that you don't want, or giving a tarantula that you think you might want and then deciding not to keep it any further. In this particular case, we're going to be just going over quick about what happens when a mature male molts after being a mature male. Now this guy's been a mature male the entire time I've had him. I've had him for over 2 years now. This was one of my first tarantulas I ever owned. He actually, I kind of knew he was a male when I first got him. I actually rescued him from a pet store. But he was always one of my favorites because he just kind of paired up nicely with my female. I thought at the time she was my only big female rosea queen, and I really never got anything out of it. But in this particular case with this guy, this is what happens when a mature male goes again to molt for a post ultimate molt, and most of the time this is what happens if you're not really sure what's going on here. Believe it or not, this tarantula, some people see it and they're like, oh well, what's wrong with his legs? He's actually trying to molt. He's been like this for 48 hours trying to get out of this molt. He has made little progress outside of actually shedding off the skin from the abdomen, which is literally the easiest part. Everything else is still intact. His legs, everything are still in there. He's just basically, he doesn't have the strength to push all the way out anymore, and he's essentially stuck. He was flipped over, breathing very funny, so I actually flipped him over here and thought I would just literally say goodbye to him one last time in the video. Very, very tough to deal with stuff like this. Basically, I'm no longer going to watch him suffer. And there's different ways of how you can actually put a tarantula to peace humanely, and there are wrong ways to do it. And the wrong ways are people's opinions, but in my opinion, I mean, if you go and check out some of the arachno boards and some of the conversations people have around about how to euthanize a tarantula, some of the methods people use, in my opinion, are just flat out inhumane and disgusting. I'm not going to go over some of those methods. If you want to go and check out arachno boards and just type in how to properly or how to humanely euthanize a tarantula on the web, and just check out some of the conversations of how people do it, it is very disturbing, very disgusting, and completely unnecessary. And most of the time, when people are talking about these conversations, those animals aren't suffering like this one. They're literally just unwanted, misunderstood tarantulas that people decide to dispose of without even looking at any other avenue of perhaps selling that tarantula or giving it away to someone, just literally donating it to any pet store that would gladly take it. Those people, if they have done it, or if you thought about doing it, you really need to look yourself in the mirror and ask yourself, what your problem is, because if you did that to a dog or a cat, you would go to jail for a long time. But I guess it's okay for tarantulas. But I mean, if you did that to a dog or a cat, you know, that's a felony. You would literally go to jail longer than some people who've actually like nearly killed people. So I mean, it's just very strange subject matter. The only method I've used, and I've done it once before, actually done it twice before, and he is still breathing, he's still moving. I'm not gonna mess with him. He is still alive. I usually do the freezing method. Now, I only do it when I realize that they are very, very, very close to death, which is why I allowed him to try to sustain his life as long as he could. You never know what happens. I'm going to show you why I do that in a moment with my other tarantula. But one of the things that I don't like doing is prematurely believing that a tarantula is dead before you really have exhausted every option you can possibly have, which I have with this guy, and he literally is suffering at this point. So I usually put him inside of a small container, and I put him in the freezer. Now, I go back and I check. I don't just stick him in there and walk away for 2 weeks and then come back and check and see if he's passed away. I will literally check. If I open it up and he's actually in a different position, looking like he's suffering, I will take him out. I've done it before, and I will, because if they have enough life to do that, that means you haven't exhausted all of your attention on that animal. So I've only had to do that once, where I actually stuck it in the freezer, and I go back and I check often to see how that tarantula is responding to the cold before it even gets anywhere near freezing. Just to the cold. If the cold wakes them up, I'll take them back out and I'll put it back in their enclosure. I'll put them in the ICU. I'll do everything I can before my stop. I just don't stick it in the freezer and walk away. I mean, so that's my method. This one, I actually literally put it in the freezer last night for literally like 30 seconds. As soon as I put it in the cold, he moved. I did not close the container. I looked at him, how he would respond to the cold. The cold actually made him move. I took him back out and I stuck him back in here, and that was 24 hours ago. So you don't just stick them in. You can just stick them in and leave them, but I believe that cold is a nice contrast, and if they have some life in their body, they're going to move, or they're going to do something that you probably wasn't expecting. So that's pretty much how I do it. And but unfortunately for this guy, he's not really responding at all anymore. He's just barely breathing, and he's very, very near the end, and I really can't watch him suffer anymore. So this time I am going to go ahead and put him in the freezer, and I'm going to leave him. I'm going to go back and check on him a couple of times, but I'm pretty sure he's pretty close, and I don't really want him to suffer. And what I mean by pretty close, I don't think he's going to die anytime soon. I think he probably, in this position, he could probably last, considering he just had a meal a couple weeks ago, he'll probably last at least another week, probably like this, if I left him. You can see his abdomen's nice and full. He's alive. He's just stuck inside of that skin, and which is basically, in my opinion, being stuck inside of a cave or a coffin. You know, it's at this point there's no more. He has no more purpose, and it's just cruel to watch him suffer through this. So we're gonna go ahead and get him in a cup, and I'm gonna go ahead and freeze him, and we'll check on him from there. All right, so this will be the last time I actually see this guy alive. It's very, very tough. I usually take some of the substrate out that he had in there. He's actually sitting on the actual web. I didn't pick him up. I picked up all the soil underneath him. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to add a little bit of water in here with it. And what that water is going to do is just going to speed up the process. It's going to make it a little bit colder in there faster. So he's just not sitting in there, and it's just a little bit of water. It's not much, but it's going to make it go a lot faster than just sticking them in there in a dry cup and then just letting them freeze. That water will start working its way. It'll just make it a lot faster, and that's the whole point. The faster you can get this over with, the better for the tarantula. He was an awesome tarantula. I really learned a lot from this guy. I'm really going to miss him. It's just the thing about these tarantulas that sucks is that this can potentially happen to any mature male, especially the bigger, more terrestrial ones. They seem to have this problem more commonly, at least in my experience, than the smaller tarantulas. So I'm gonna really, really miss this guy. He was an awesome T. and never ever gonna forget this experience, because this is the first time I've ever had one go to a Post Ultimate Molt that I had to freeze. Like I said, we're gonna get to Pistol here in a moment, and I'm gonna show you his progress. But for right now, we're gonna go ahead and say goodbye. I'm not gonna show him again until probably well after he's gone. So on the brighter side of Post Ultimate Molts is Pistol, and this is my rosea male that I picked up about 2 years ago. He was a mature male when I got him, and I got him for the sole reason of breeding him with queens, since I knew I was gonna most likely have Perseus, who matured out a little bit after I got this guy. But I pretty much knew Perseus was a male, but I just kind of wanted to double it up since I was having more and more rosea females at the time. But this guy, he does not have any pedipulps, as you can see there. No pedipulps at all, but he actually still eats. He's been a Post Ultimate mature male for over a year now, I think. And he's actually very active. He's just all over the place. He still spins webs, and he's very active, like I said, and just eating, doing his thing. And you couldn't even really tell if you didn't know that he actually was a Post Ultimate male. He just has a lot of life in him. He's just been a very strange experience. Every day I come down here, I expect to see him in a death curl, and he just keeps on going. I mean, this guy is insane. Beautiful, beautiful mature male. I mean, outside of being my pet, he really has no purpose as far as tarantula business goes. He cannot mate anymore. But this is just a remarkable little story, especially when you contrast it with what can happen, like with Perseus, who just obviously ran into some troubles with his Post Ultimate Molt. Conditions were the exact same for these guys. I keep them in the exact same setup, as you see. There is absolutely no difference between these guys, and you can just see this dude is just he's just busy as I don't know what in here. I mean, he is just always going, webbing up, and he's just a trooper. He's a machine. The guy he just never stops. He hasn't slowed down yet at all. In fact, it seems like he's had more energy lately, especially after he just got a meal. The first time he's eaten in like a year, close to a year, I think. And I took one super worm, and he's running around like crazy again, so that's awesome. He's a really cool tarantula. I'm really gonna miss this guy as well. Like I said, I learned a lot from both these guys, and now having this experience of what can happen badly with the Post Ultimate Molt, and the plus side that these guys can survive them. It's freakish, but they can survive Post Ultimate Molts if the conditions are right and you have the right fortitude in that particular tarantula. So on the plus side of this sad video, this is still insane for me to be able to look at this guy and see him run around like crazy, not slow down a bit. That's inspiring. That's cool, and that's why I keep going in this hobby to experience things like this. Like I said, check out and do your research when it comes to what to do properly and humanely with any animal, but with tarantulas in particular. You don't necessarily, if they're not dead or not near death, you don't have to inhumanely kill these animals. There are people out there, if you put an ad in, say take it for free, they will take it. Any pet store would take it. So please, don't be cruel and kill one of these animals just because you don't want it anymore, or you found it and you thought it'd be cool to have it for a day, or you're scared or anything like that. I mean, I can almost see that more than I can see someone who actually owned it for several days and decided to do something cruel, like smash it with a hammer, or like some of the other people say, like just taking them and literally trying to gas them or spraying chemicals on them. That's just completely ridiculous. If you wouldn't do that to your cat or dog, you shouldn't do it with these animals. They're no different than any other animal on this planet. They deserve respect. They deserve to be treated like an animal. and not like some kind of monster that you conjured up in one of your dreams. I mean, these are animals, and as you can see here, this guy is just as pleasant as can be. There's no need to do anything cruel to it. And if you're nervous about owning tarantulas or something like that, and you end up picking one up anyway, maybe you should question yourself of why you went ahead and picked up an animal you're afraid of but don't know anything about. That's not the animal's fault, that's your fault. Don't punish the animal for your ignorance. I don't like to preach about it, but it's just disturbing and irritating when I have to read stuff like that on forums about people who are so misinformed and inhumane when it comes to invertebrates and arachnids in general. So as you can see, it's been about probably around a few hours since I went ahead and put them in the freezer. Leg movements have not changed at all. The water that I poured in there is completely frozen over. You can see it down there. It's rock solid. I use that as an indicator. If there's any liquid in there at all, that means it, this was a waste of time. That it didn't get cold enough or something. But he is finally passed away. He's no longer with us. It's been about 35 minutes, and this is pretty much what's left of it. I mean, it's not much to see. There's really no difference. I mean, like I said, other than that water being frozen down there, you can't really tell. He's not iced over. I know a lot of people think when you freeze these animals that they somehow become like the abominable snow tarantula or something. Like it's like some kind of. You can see it's completely intact. We freeze tarantulas after they die anyway. A lot of us, so we can mount them later. Or do we need to do to remember them by? A lot of my tarantulas, most of them that have passed away, that have the size I've frozen. So this one's no different. Like I said, I went ahead and chose to use a little bit of a smaller container because his legs were in the upright position. I didn't feel like he needed anything bigger to lay his legs out. I did not want to mess with him at all. This is something comfortable. The smaller the container, the faster the freeze, especially you put in the water. And also one thing to think about, especially people who don't really understand tarantulas and territorial wise, these guys obviously are not accustomed, and they can deal with a lot of different temperature extremes. But even in the wild, there's going to be some tarantulas that wander off somewhere, and the temperature is going to drop a little lower, and they might pass away in the middle of the night from the temperature going too low. If there's an ice storm or just a severe temperature drop. I know here in Missouri, I've seen a lot of frozen spiders around, and none this size obviously, but the point taken is that this is a little bit more of a natural feeling death. This is something that a tarantula or any spider for that matter, any insect for that matter, might feel in the wild if there's a severe temperature drop after a rain or something like that, especially coming out of spring or going into fall and winter. This is a more natural thing. It's not natural to take a hammer to a tarantula or spray raid on them just so you can kill them. This is much more natural, and I don't feel as bad. I feel like I just in certain cases, it's equivalent to pulling the plug. It's just letting him go peacefully. And there's no stress on him. He didn't look like he moved at all. Doesn't look like he put up a fight or he struggled or he, that the cold really messed with him all that much. Other than him being a little stiffer, obviously. So, I want to say my final goodbye to my good little buddy here, Perseus. I'll never forget this tarantula. He was actually the first tarantula I ever rescued, which adds even more sentimental value. And I have a lot of videos of him. One of the best videos to see him in is the tarantula editorial on rescuing exotic pets. He's featured in that, alive and well. And if you want to take a good look at him, see him alive and well and doing great, that's a video to look at if this is bumming you out or anything. So say goodbye to my good buddy. And again, this is my way of doing it. If there's a better way, please let all of us in the tarantula community know, and even those who aren't in the tarantula community. But this is my preferred method, and like I said, I went through the steps, so Hopefully this helps anybody who's looking for information on one way somebody euthanizes humanely a tarantula. This is never a subject that anybody wants to talk about. Like I said, there's not a lot of resources, video-wise or web-wise, with getting information. This is not something I'm offering as the to-go-to method. This is just my method that I use that makes me feel the most comfortable about how to deal with my animals when I feel like they are suffering, or I need to kind of hop in there and stop their suffering. So this was my method. Like I said, my experience. This is not a Bible on how to euthanize a tarantula. So if you want to see more of my vids, you can always hop over to my Day or Night Exotics TV YouTube channel page. You can subscribe there as well. Check out all the playlists and all the series that I provide. You can also find me on Facebook at Day or Night and on Instagram at Day or Night. I often post pictures there on Instagram and on Facebook that I don't share on YouTube. I kind of stick to the videos, but if you want to see pics of a lot of my animals, you can always hop over there. I'm always posting pics. I want to thank you guys for watching this one. Again, couldn't do this without you guys and your support. So that's going to do it for this one. Hope you guys be safe out there. I'll see you next time, guys and gals. Have a good one.